Hey, Randall, how are you?
Good. About yourself?
Hanging in there.
Good. One day at a time.
That's all you can do, man.
Yep.
There's Crobe. Turn the camera on. Hello, Crobe.
What's up?
Showing our age, man.
Right.
Hey, they brought Beavis and Butthead back.
They keep bringing them back. It's true. Hello, Judy.
Hi, folks. How are you?
Doing all right yourself?
Good. Good. Thank you.
Good. There's link to the agenda. We'll give it another minute here before we get started.
Crobe, how is Ireland? I finally got to watch your video recording this morning of your presentation.
That's not even the good one. That's just the one with the hat. Ireland was wonderful. I love Ireland. I hate international travel, but I love Ireland. It was a delightful time. The facility there is just great. The conference center is great.
Convention center is lovely. Yeah, it is lovely.
It's gorgeous. So
I
nice.
saw.
Hi.
It was a little intimidating when I did my keynote. Just the main auditorium is massive, cavernous.
I'm
Yeah,
sure you
but we
have
got these.
But
Yeah.
How cool are these?
oh, they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Nice.
We have to take their word on it, but that is supposed to be like ancient something.
The oldest style of writing
Yeah.
on the continent.
Looks, yeah.
Unfortunately, the frame was a
Looks
little
like
large.
a jail cell. How many years have you done in open source? I've got 5.
All right. There's a link to the agenda. So if you wouldn't mind signing in, making your name colors darker. I guess we can go ahead and get started. And as other people join, we can get them up to speed. All right, so it's been a while since our last meeting. We did end up canceling the last one because of the conference, but the changes that we talked about last time have been made in the repo. I did leave a couple of the old goals there crossed off just until I double check and make sure everything's been moved to the other groups as we talked about. But today I wanted to talk a little bit more, maybe a couple organizational things I just wanted to verify. And I want to talk a little bit more about the details around some of the goals, figuring out what the dependencies for each of them are, making sure the milestones that we've got listed make sense, and then hopefully getting volunteers to start working on some of the tasks. If anyone can help scribe while we are having the meeting, anyone and everyone is welcome to do so. I would appreciate that. Let's move right down into the first bullet. So if you take a look at the plan, the link to the repo is there. One of the things that we had talked about at the last meeting was possibly moving goal 1.6 ahead of goal 1.4. So goal 1.6 is determine venues and personas that content will be created for, delivered to. Goal 1.4 is define training areas of focus. This is purely an organizational question for me, but I'm trying to figure out dependencies on these things. And I believe that there may be a dependency on 1.6 for 1.4 to execute, but I am open to opinions, thoughts, and suggestions from everybody. So you can see if security slam. Nice. I'm going to put that in the agenda. And as always, I forgot to say, if anyone has anything to add to the agenda, please feel free. I'm going to put this right here at the top.
Thank you. Yeah, it's cool. It's education that is tailored towards getting all of the CNCF projects that we can to 100% security compliance based on CLO monitor. And then we are awarding them with additional training and funding for the maintainers and also a diversity scholarship within their community. It's a good deal.
Nice.
Cool.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Very good.
I don't have a problem if you move 1.6 before 1.4. I hadn't, when we were thinking through these, I hadn't originally thought about like an order of operations or any kind of dependencies, but we may want to stage it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I
More-
mean,
Sorry, go ahead, Sal.
yeah, I think this just makes sense by law of economy. Identifying the personas is necessary to creating content. So
I got a thumbs up from Randall. Thank you, Randall. As I was going through this again this week, I was looking and seeing some fairly glaring dependencies I think we have. And I want to make sure that we got those identified. So we're not gonna be able to do all these at once just because of, people that we have available to do it. But I want to make sure that we're getting the things done early that we can, so things later on can kick off as we move forward. All right, so that's a yes. Now, this goes along with what we just talked about. The second bullet of the current 1.4 lists roles and personas to engage with. The goal of 1.6 is determine venues and personas that content should be created, delivered for. It would make sense to me that we move it to 1.6, but again, I wanted to make sure everyone was in agreement before I made any changes. Is everybody cool with that?
I think so.
Got a thumbs up from Crow, we have thumbs up from Judy. Okay. Randall loves that idea and gives me a thumbs up. Thanks, Randall. Sal's giving me a nod. Okay, cool. All right, and the last thing I'm going to do when we're done here today, I'm going to go ahead and renumber the goals consecutively, just so it's easier for us to track things moving forward. We've had some things removed. I will do that after the meeting. Everything in the agenda today is based on the current content as it stands, and we'll update that as we move forward. All right. Before we jump into goal 1.1, does anyone have anything that they would like to bring up or discuss that has to do with this section or the SIG in general? Crow.
I had a conversation with my pal Xavier, and he was lamenting his lack of ability to participate in the best working group. And I had been talking, he was looking for ways he could participate kind of asynchronously. So we want to think about, as we have some of these milestones and the things we want to achieve, there are people that can't necessarily meet our call, but we can, people are very open to additional work. So as we have tasks, we should find a way to share that with the larger SIG and working group. And then Xavier in particular, if there are things that he and GitHub can help out with, we can directly assign PRs to him, and he can work those things kind of async.
That is good to know.
I would recommend for the async that we, on the Slack that we're focusing this around, point them towards it, pin something to the top that says that all updates will be available, like basically a release update will be available at a certain frequency. And then just ensure that everyone asyncs on those timelines, right? That'll help to get the conversation really moving as well.
Thank you, Sal. I think it's a good suggestion. Anything else around how we might be able to facilitate this? I'm sure as we go through, we'll come up with some additional suggestions we can add to this list. All right, I'm gonna move on for now, but if anyone comes up with anything, either please add it yourself or bring it up and we'll add it into the notes here. Thanks, Crow.
It never hurts to help.
Never hurts to help. We're gonna need more than even if we had everybody that came to the original meeting involved, we're gonna need more than those folks to make some progress on this. So I agree. We need to be asynchronous friendly with the tasks. All right. Moving on to goal 1.1. Review existing educational materials for gaps and opportunities. So we've got a number of milestones listed here. The first one was relatively easy. It was creating a document to track all the information that we're gathering, which is great. We want to review existing secure development materials from a variety of sources. We've named out two specifically, the Linux Foundation, OpenSSF, and OWASP. And then we have a bunch, well, we have two that are secondary organizations we might be able to check out. We've gotten a fair amount of information, I think, in the document thus far. Open here to take a look, but we asked people to check their organizations. Someone added, Judy, was this you that added all this LinkedIn information? Yes, it was. LinkedIn information down here. This is a good start. I do not see any dependencies on the for this goal. We can start gathering this information basically immediately. And I don't think that we necessarily have a comprehensive list of organizations we can go after, but if people would like to start picking and choosing areas that they can look at beyond what we already got, we can talk about that. Randall, please.
I actually already started inventorying everything from OSWAB, and the problem isn't the inventory. I think the problem is going to be going through it all because it's not entirely organized. I'm assuming that most of their content deals with web applications. However, that's not entirely true. But yeah, because I can, if you guys want the link, we use a program called LogSeq, which is just basically like a markdown organizer. So I can share the GitHub repo, and I can show you the mountains of labs and knowledge bases and articles and David Wheeler's courses in there too. If you guys want to see it all and help organize, you're more than welcome.
Please, if you have to share that, I definitely put the information.
I'll share it on Slack because I'm on my phone right now.
No worries. I'm not sure who raised their hand first, but I'm going to go ladies first. Judy. We can't hear you, Judy. You're on mute.
Most unusual, as my husband would say. I'm just wondering, should we start with how to organize what we're collecting? So can we start with groupings? Could we devise some groupings so that when we are finding content, we could drop it in under selected groups and then continuously refine down from there, but higher level groups for me, even to start organizing this doc, if we could come up with what are we wanting to collect would be a really good start.
I think that'll make a fine milestone. Getting organized
Yes.
before we have a bunch of stuff is always a good idea.
Yeah, because we have a bunch of stuff already. And Randall, I think that's a great, thank you for collecting all that information, but it's how to organize it, because as you said, it's all over the place. So really it's piggybacking on what you said, my idea.
That was going to be exactly my suggestion, is we probably should potentially put this into a table or spreadsheet and have, the source, maybe what the topic is. This is cross-site scripting protection, and then maybe potentially a target audience. So find some way to organize it, and that way we can start to suss out and see where we have gaps from the Wheeler content, and where we think we want to prioritize, certain type. There may be certain types of education we want to get out sooner, so that way, at least if we have it categorized as Judy suggested, we can start to take some action on it.
I think that all makes sense. Crow, can I ask you to, is everyone amicable to using a spreadsheet or help organize the content. Okay, Randall has his hand up and a thumbs up.
I can talk after this question.
Okay, no problem. Crow, if I could ask you to create a spreadsheet and share that, I would appreciate
Where'd
it.
you learn that from, jerk?
Oh, I knew that long before I worked with you, my friend.
Yes, I'll take that action item.
Thank you. Go ahead, Randall.
So OSWAP has like a front end project because basically SKF uses Angular. So I just wanted to throw that out there because there is like a whole front end redesign happening that is starting next week, like to move away from Angular. But yeah, so I was also going to ask Crow about maybe getting Cassidy involved.
Yes, I have not. Her card gathers
know.
dust here on top of my soundboard.
Well, just so you know, there's basically like 3 designers involved. I was hoping that we can maybe get her involved, and they were gonna like actually pick up the Figma and do it correctly because basically SKF's been all over the place. So yeah, just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I will take another action item, hopefully my last of the call. And I will start an email thread with Cassidy, yourself, and anyone else interested. And we can
Probably
introduce her to the group first.
Okay.
And say, hey, this is who we are. This is when we're meeting. We'd like to get you included. And then we can, after we've lured her in, we can point her towards OWASP, maybe. But I don't know what her docket's like. I don't know how much availability she has, but she was very enthusiastic about our little project here.
Perfect.
Judy. Excuse me, Judy.
And talk. And just as a follow-up to that, like going through, David is not here. He's secure development training. There's headings to start with there. Can we maybe? Okay.
I'll start.
I know
with
you're
David's
way
work.
ahead of me. You're way ahead of me, Crow.
Yeah, I'll start with David is for categorization. And then
I think
as we need to, we can bring if there's nothing for threat modeling, we can add a section for threat
modeling. He has it there. But yeah, I mean, he has categorized it out, and either we could decide to expand or add to that. Okay.
It's a good call out.
I get to work with the smartest people in this group. It's great.
Is this the best section of the best working
group? This is
group?
the best section of the
SIG of the best working group.
SIG of the best working group. Yes.
Just want to make sure we clarify that.
Don't worry, Sal. I say that.
He'll say the same thing in yours too, Sal. It's okay. I know how this works. All right.
If I may,
yes,
because I had a meeting with David and Glenn and about SKF and what like David's vision is. David kind of sees that it's impossible to have one platform for everything, so he's thinking about having 2, and he would like all of the content to be on there needs to be like a progressive platform, which is what we're working on right now. And then there needs to be like a standalone platform where people can consume data independently and bring that into their organizations. I think he called it like SORCOM. SCORM. There, that's the one.
SCORM Connect, yeah.
Yep. So he said that the other one has to be SCORM. So he said it'd be impossible to have what SKF do everything, but he envisions SKF being that progressive platform where we could take you from like 0 to hero. And yeah.
And I slightly disagree with 2 platforms. Learners come in many different shapes and sizes and learning behaviors. So we're going to need to take that core content, and it needs to absolutely be in courses like the security fundamentals, absolutely in hands-on platforms like SKF. And then we need to think about alternatives. Like we should probably think about the next set of Linux Foundation conferences. Can we get a dedicated training track? Because I'm sure we could put together several hours worth of content around secure development and associated activities and actually start to give it there. And then, that's one type. And then you have, organizations like Girls Who Code. We want to find out how we can share information with them so that they can integrate it. And we want to think about, like reskillers or people changing careers. So we need to have we're going to have a lot of different channels.
Fair.
But
fair.
SPF and the main course will be the primary kind of authoritative sources for us. And then we'll figure out how to transform it outwards.
Fair.
Yeah, Sal, something like that. We just need to figure out and get the stuff written and get a body to do it.
That's a good idea.
Good. I'm good.
Cool. All right, jumping back to goal 1.1. So we're going to add the milestone about organizing things. I know when we were working on the original Google document, we were kind of brainstorming organizations that we could pull from, and that's how we came up with a couple of these milestones. We wanted to make sure we hit up the Linux Foundation, we wanted to make sure we hit up OWASP. Do we want to try and divide and conquer and have assign people as leads, start looking at this information? Do you want to pitch this to the larger SIG and the larger working group, see if we get some help around those specific categories? I'm sorry, those organizations. And do we want to add some additional organization names to that third one there? We kind of have Safe Code and ISC Squared. I'm sure there's more that are out there.
Yes, I would pitch it out first to the SIG mailing list and then CC the best practices list.
Okay.
Would it be appropriate to send this out through sort of the leadership list as well? I think sort of one of the signal processing issues here is that everyone who cares about security hears about security, and none of the people who could propagate it more widely hear about it. So let's get it out there.
Do you have like the governing board list you're talking about, or the
Yeah.
TAC list?
Yeah, I was thinking the TAC. I think that would be the most appropriate. Yeah.
Easy peasy. I happen to have that handy. I will post a link that we can reference for our notes to mail to.
Crow doing the copy paste.
Give me a minute. I gotta find the
No
right
worries.
list. Too many lists. Yeah, I put it in the
Are there
wrong
any-
order.
While Crow is frantically looking for the link, are there any other organization we'd like to add right now to the list that we have here? Gee, I think you already pulled a bunch of stuff from LinkedIn.
Yeah, I did. I copied and pasted somebody else's work who posted it to LinkedIn. I gave them the credit. Somebody had listed loads of LinkedIn training and also Reddit. Just the other 2 days ago, I think, was Reddit resources, which was new to me. I hadn't even thought of looking there for resources, but I haven't investigated it. Is that a place where people go to look for code samples or help? Like,
People look for all kinds of stuff in Reddit. That would not surprise me if that's one of the places they go to for that
I
sort of
wasn't
thing.
somewhere. I have to say, Stack Overflow was where I used to emulate
That's where I used to go to.
code from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I go to Reddit if I'm aware that like a maintainer is active on their Reddit, but it's also a sketchier place than Stack Overflow because Stack Overflow verifies.
Ah, okay.
Anyone can say
Well,
anything they want on Reddit.
Interesting.
And
That's
often
maybe
Yeah.
that would be a real area. Reddit is a real problem. So if people didn't know that and were like Wikipedia, taking stuff that you believe to be true. But maybe that's another day's work. Anyway, there's loads of subreddits between network, computer science, cybersecurity, blue teams, red teams, OSINT, deception, and honeypots. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
Okay. I'll leave this this open.
Xavier, what's Xavier's second name?
Crow, what's Xavier's last name?
Coriel.
Okay. This is, I thought it might have been some weird coincidence. Xavier Bellikins is a gentleman who shared it on the community. Okay.
That is not ours of,
Okay.
but I'm sure he's a very nice Xavier.
All right. So within this group, do I have anyone who would like to volunteer to look at any of these organizations before I open it up to the wider audience?
I'd be happy to offer my time to look at an organization. I would like to know what I'm looking for, and I think the spreadsheet will really help
Okay.
with that. I like not to put the cart before the horse. So if we could decide first on what we're looking for, where to post it when we find it, how to collect the information, I'd be happily offer my time for one or whatever needs.
Yeah, so increasingly on this operational dependencies, getting that matrix defined and confirmed seems like it's the highest priority. Should we set up a separate time and deadline to make sure that we can operationalize on that?
You're reading my mind, Sal. We absolutely should do that because that is quickly becoming obvious as the initial dependency we've got.
I kind of have one. If you want to start how SKF has it structured, I kind of have one because basically SKF has it struck. It's very like spaghetti in the sense that like you have David's course, which is secure coding, and then you have like testing, and then you have like the labs, and then I could put that in a Google document, Crow, and send that to you, and you could use that as a base if you'd like. And I can do OSWAP, obviously.
Thank you for those links, Crow. I appreciate that.
I have
The email
one
links.
more for you.
Another one. Is this the spreadsheet link?
It is. It took me hundreds of hours to forge a Google spreadsheet.
They are
But I
difficult.
started it. I will set this up later today. I'll need to leave. Actually, not today because I'm actually very busy today till like 7 o'clock my time. But I will have this done before Monday, and I will have Wheeler's structure in there. If you wanted to put your information, Randall, in another tab or a sheet in the Google nomenclature, I will. I'll start to massage things. I'm going to put Dave's Word document as a tab. I'll put Randall's thing as a tab. Anybody else wants to put things in there, and then I will start to forge it into some structure.
Awesome. You got it.
All right. Thanks for doing that. You. All right. So once, excuse me, the initial creation is done, Crow, Randall, how long do we want to take to have the group review this before we say that we are good enough to move forward and start collecting some of the content?
We meet every 2 weeks.
Probably need just a couple of days.
Let's put a milestone for our next call then.
Okay. So we have the homework. All right. Add it to the homework for next time. I will volunteer to look at ISC squared.
Thank you, Dave.
once that is done. If anyone else has a preference for a organization that they would like to take the lead on looking at, feel free to add it to the list, but I will be asking, like I said, the SIG and the larger best practices group for volunteers to help with this information as well. The next milestone that has a little bit of a different activity is a survey. We want to take a survey to find out what's missing or what's wrong. And then subsequently, after that survey, we wanted to do a gap analysis against existing OSSF materials and classes, document areas new content is desired or required. So ultimately, our goal here is to determine what we've got, what's out there right now, understand what we still may need or what might not be comprehensive enough or targeted toward the right audience, and then help facilitate some of the other sections activities by saying this is the type of content that we believe we need to either further develop or create based on some of the priorities that we've come up with. I think we have a dependency on seeing what's out there before we take a survey to determine what's missing. But is there anything else that we need to know for us to be able to do that survey?
Put my hand up.
Go ahead, Judy.
Whom are we, how are we collecting? Who are we sending the survey to? What's the criteria for the audience?
What is the criteria in the audience for the survey? So the first thing we need to do is we need to determine, this is good, determine the criteria and audience for the survey.
So I would try to get this out as much as we can, because we right now don't necessarily know who the most amplifying audience will be, but I would want the first question to be, do you identify as a student employed in security or employed outside of security? Essentially, those three markers for me would crystallize exactly what kind of education I think we would need to contribute, and sort of the proportion of them based on that survey response.
Do we have, Sal, you might know, what mailing list, like is there a blanket area that we can mail to, or how many people are we targeting? Like, is this 100 out of 100 or out of 1,000?
I would like a couple of hundred responses to be able to know what's genuine. Okay. And we want to have it to be geographically distributed. This effort is really going to have to be something that if you send it out through OSSF, you're going to extremely bias your sample, right? Towards only those who are already very aware. So if we put that together, we can get that sent out through community classroom, like DOK, some of these side spaces where there's interest in security, but not in awareness, because that's who we're trying to target, right? But I do wonder if we can get some of the sub foundations of Linux to send this out on their distros. That will give us a better idea of perhaps, and maybe this is something that we also include, sector by sector, what is the demand?
Please feel free, as always, to correct any typos or things I missed when I'm trying to take the notes. These are all excellent questions that we need to get answered.
And another, I'm sorry for terrible question. How many, in general, I have no experience of sending out surveys and asking people to reply. So if you're looking, is there a 50% response rate? What's the idea of success here? 20% response rate? Like I've often sent emails and had absolutely no response, so I'm well used to those. But I'm trying to see how many do you have to send to expect 200 replies? And so, really good point I think you made about getting that diversity in it. if you get those 200 replies from those people who are already interested, are we missing, is your results skewed? I think that's the problem always with surveys.
Yeah, I mean, for this, I don't have the hard numbers, but we can absolutely expect less than 20% on average. So we really have to get it out there. And it also, right, a little incentive for filling out the form can raise those rates. So yeah, give them something. So maybe we can coordinate that as one of the sort of co-deliverables with section 3. So if we provide education around that, some kind of badge, something, they will have to do like an extra step for those things, but I'll think a little bit more about incentivizing engagement. Because
A code
alternatively,
to free
yeah, 'cause-
training somewhere.
yeah, because we're trying to get cybersecurity awareness information out of people who have no incentive to give it to us, right? So we may have to provide one.
Okay. I agree. Having an incentive makes it much more likely that people won't just delete the email.
Help us help you kind of attitude.
What else do we need to try and put a survey together and hopefully make it successful?
Matrix has to be created before we send out that survey, right? So that we can validate externally what the priorities are.
So I have started the matrix. If anyone has any feedback or suggestions for changes on the matrix tab for like the categories or how we want to organize it. And then the XREF tab, which is what would fill in some of those things. So types of content, target audiences, feel free to adjust or add to.
Thank you, Crow.
You're welcome.
All right. And then what I'll do between now and next time is I'll start blowing out some of these tasks underneath the milestones that we've got, and we can continue to add and tweak those as we move forward. Judy. You're on mute.
You're
Judy.
muted.
Sorry, my terrible habit. That sentence, I'm gonna get something made for behind me. I'm on mute at the end of all these Zoom calls. The link, I had this in, I wonder could we tap into the open source jobs report, critical skills, hiring trends and education that the that the Linux Foundation published in June. I put up the link in the chat. I had added it to the education collection of information, but it's not really suitable for that. But I just dropped it in there to remind me of it, to help us formulate questions maybe, or in a survey. How did they gather the information for this report and tap into it? I don't know. Thoughts on the report?
I haven't read
Judy?
this yet. I need to. But I do wonder if they have any information held back that we might be able to lean on. So do we have a contact for this?
Start with David Wheeler.
David, yeah.
He'll know. I can't recall the lady who's responsible for LF research, but start with David.
Okay. Got that.
I do
Thanks for
appreciate that.
Lexi.
Essentially, this sounds like the only finding is if you want to hire people in open source, they have to be remote. I agree.
Certainly helps. All right. And then the gap analysis, I'm not even going to really dig into that because I think that's pretty far down the road. We have a lot of stuff we have to do before we get to that. So we can put a pin in that one and maybe talk about it later.
However, I do think that gap analysis, after reading through this a little bit, I would make an argument that a nice deliverable for that gap analysis would be sort of an addendum to this, a pre and post. So sort of matching the style of research to this and making sure that we can provide that insight for cybersecurity sector. So I'll do, you can tag my name on that. I'll do some thinking around that. What would that research look like?
Think so.
Bro, I have a quick question about the Matrix.
What is the matrix?
That too.
That is the question.
Is there a Matrix? Anyway, do you want me to post all the labs basically just on here? Because there are like a lot of labs. Like if I told you there was 1,000, there might probably be like 1,000 labs.
So if you are willing to not only post links to them, but also start some categorization, I welcome you to leverage the Randall tab. If you're just going
All
to
right.
spam me with a billion lines of crap, I'll
That's
get to
kind of
that.
the way they have.
I'll put that at the bottom of the backlog for the moment.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of the way they have it. It's just a bunch, and also they're right now they're also all written in 3 languages. So yeah, I'll try to figure out how best I can organize it. But yeah, I will. I just wanted to clarify because there's a lot of labs.
Do we have any clear exclusion criteria? So for things like Kubernetes space, it's not going to be very relevant if it's more than 2.5 years old. So there's a lot that we can remove.
Another thing we need to write down.
They're all still pretty basic, just so you know. Like they're still pretty. They're like all really relevant. And there's also a bunch of new ones that are being developed by Contrast Security. And I think that there's Ricardo's company is also going to be sponsoring making more labs as well. So like there is more labs coming, but I don't know if any of them are like Kubernetes based. Most of them are like basic stuff like cross-site scripting, path traversal, stuff like that.
Well, the basics we can keep in. Maybe in this tab then on the spreadsheet, we need to have I guess right now the matrix on this front page is a little bit underdefined. We probably need to have this stack labeled so we can parse them by that. But I guess in this case, we can have the stack identified or identify as generalized cybersecurity information, because that is cross language education.
Judy's hand is up.
Yeah, actually, sorry, just something Randall said. It was made, but the content coming from Randall, it was made by Contrast Security, was it?
No, it was made by Oswap, but same founder.
Okay. But open, so like suitable for sharing, like there was no.
Yes. SKF is 8 years old from my understanding. And Glenn and Ricardo work on it. It's kind of like their brainchild.
Cool.
All right, we have about 15 minutes left. Do we want to continue to talk about anything else for goal 1.1 right now? Do we want to move on and look at some of the other goals to identify dependencies or what tasks might need to be done to get those? I know some of them are milestones. Or do we want to call it here and work on the spreadsheet and the matrix a little bit?
I would welcome it if people could spend 20 minutes, a half hour providing feedback on things they'd like to get staged in the matrix. Either, write it as a note. This is a note to code, or change it however you feel comfortable adding that. That way we can get the matrix solidified, and I'll start cramming the Word document, the Wheeler class. I'm trying to figure out. I'm deciphering David's class right now. I see 3 categories, but we'll see. I'll start to monkey around with that. So if we could take that time, like not maybe now or later today, if you could take 20 minutes to give me feedback on how the spreadsheet's laid out, then we can start to populate it.
Just the target audience. I thought we had decided it was going to be 3 beginner, middle, advanced, or something. It wasn't going to be.
We can.
Yeah.
I welcome the group's feedback on how we want to organize ourselves. I just threw out some ideas. If we want to use basic, intermediate, expert.
That was it.
Yeah,
For,
I think
for-
that's a good way.
for the record, we already have it split up that way. So
Yeah.
if you actually go to SKF, you could find, like, you can go to David's course and it'll tell you if you want it to be like beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And it basically like flips the content available.
Yeah, I would keep our content that way, but when we are reaching out specifically just to get the insight from core audiences, they're not going to identify as those. They're going to identify as a professionality class. But yeah, I think we should just have those be the 3 for the real content that we deliver.
Yeah, so I'll change this to learner level.
That's a good way of stating it. That was one of the things that got brought up because we have it right now. I think like choose your difficulty level.
Yeah, but we may, it also could be valuable to note, like if this training is focused on Kubernetes or CI/CD or testing, it would also be useful to have that, because that's another potential bucket. Basic, intermediate, and expert are good for putting the class together, but that's not useful.
That's actually how I thought the spreadsheet was going to be, say, a section for penetration testing, a section for threat modeling or cryptography, or based on the secure development training. I don't know, Randall, what way have you categorized yours? Yeah.
Well, the ideology was that the labs were going to be kind of used across like all the information. Most of the information apart from David's course is based on the OSWAP testing guide, which is very, very extensive, and the OSWAP AVAS. I think I'm getting familiar with all the terminology, but they have like an app verification for web applications and mobile applications. They're kept separately, but pretty much all of the information on SKF is based off of those guides. And they're very extensive. So if we want to use that as a jumping off point, I'm sure that we could do that. And let me also add that some of these guides are fairly old. So they have and they are kept up to date. Like there are a lot of people that meticulously keep this information up to date, which is why SKF is kind of against generating a bunch of new information outside of the labs. Really what we're trying to do is bring in external information, make sense of it, and then kind of put in like an interactive learning environment.
So if there's a way you would like to have this data tagged or categorized, the additional information we would need to collect, please directly edit or write me a long note or a comment, and I will continue to massage this. But I would like us, maybe we could spend 20 minutes today, tomorrow on this. I will have a deliverable for the group on Monday based off that feedback.
And once we have that, I'll send an email out to everyone else in the section to take a look at it if they haven't already and provide feedback.
Perfect.
A possibility, but for this spreadsheet, as we're getting those collected responses, some people are going to be nervous about making the changes. Can we add in, just in this like top box, a comment section that says, or just like a temporary section here that says, hey, if you have any ongoing thoughts on the sheet, put them here for discussion.
How about a change log?
Yeah,
I think that's the second tab. We can make a whole tab to itself.
yeah, love that.
So something simple. Is that all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Ruby,
All right.
we're doing stuff. This is great.
We're doing stuff. That's always a good feeling to be doing stuff. All right. So I think we've got our homework for the next day or so, and then before the next meeting. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to talk about before we wrap this up for today?
Do get the word out on the security slam if you can, because I am trying to fix how many CNCF projects do not have good security. And then I will take that strategy and I will implement it across many other sub foundations. So if we do this right, we do some good.
Can you DM me that link, Saul? Because I'm on my phone, like on Slack, and once I get off of Zoom, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, 100%.
That'd be great.
It's in the agenda document too.
Oh,
in
awesome.
case anyone needs it later.
I'll shoot you a link too.
I appreciate it.
I will poise all my social media power on it.
Crow, you are the rock star. So you do have
All
a
8 followers.
considerable social media hammer.
Huge reach.
All right. Hey, thank you very much, everyone. It was good seeing you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, guys.